Evening, citizens. I'm going to go on an aimless ramble now. Not quite aimless, but I've been silent for a while. Not for any particular reason, but I haven't quite known how to frame the things I've been thinking about. And I've been trying to think of how to do it in an entertaining video. And I haven't really come up with anything. So what you're getting is an aimless ramble instead. So I'm hoping it will have some value to you. A lot's been happening, and as usual, in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, all of those happening things are bad things. It's a struggle to remember when there were good things happening. It's a struggle to remember. There must have been a time, but that doesn't seem to be something I'm able to recall very easily. And of course, the very worst of all things, which is really quite saying something, is the proposal to limit jury trials. I mean, this is quite obviously a catastrophic idea, quite obviously. And you don't need me to tell you why it's catastrophic and all this. I think we can all work that out. I mean, what is surprising is that this regime is coming up with so many bad and catastrophic and terrible and totalitarian ideas. It boggles the mind, really. I mean, another terrible one that's revealed itself in the last few days, of course, is that from the rumours that the authorities were going to be raiding the passport and driving licence databases for photographs, they're now just openly admitting that's what they're going to do. They're going to trawl through all the passport photographs and all the driving licence photographs just so that they can match everything up to their live facial recognition cameras. And another one which has been remarked upon, but in amongst all the other terrible things, it hasn't had much traction either, is the proposal that they're going to do a pay per mile for people with electric cars. Now, I'm not a big fan of electric cars, and it does appear that what they're going to do is do the pay per mile, I guess, on MOT mileages rather than using ANPR cameras. But that's for now. I mean, I guess there's some sort of technical reason why they can't actually do that yet. So they won't be doing that yet. But, I mean, that's another red line crossed. As we all know, we all pay per mile because we pay for it when we pay for our fuel. That is pay per mile. So we're going to be done twice. Now, it's only for electric cars at the moment, but this is just a softening up, and it's probably a bit annoying for electric car owners, having supposedly done the right thing, to now be targeted this way. But there's a lesson for you in compliance, So I don't have an awful lot of sympathy for them, but But I do have some, because it will reflect on it. It will happen to the rest of us as well. So there's plenty of bad things going on. We're getting rather used to this. Bad headlines every day. And this is just how things are. This is life in modern Britain. Every day is a worse headline. But amongst all this, understandable gloom about so many things, there is something that is being missed by almost everybody. And dare I say, almost everybody apart from me. And it's something that I touched upon in my last couple of videos. Because sometimes it's difficult to try and articulate how you can respond to this. You can respond to, the Labour Party has a 160 majority in Houses of Parliament, so legally they can do whatever the fuck they want, it appears. And so we look at this and we look at this with horror, and we think, well, how can we stop them? And well, the truth is that legally we can't stop them. Procedurally we can't stop them. Institutionally we can't stop them. We can't stop them in any way except that we can stop them. And what I mean by that is, and at the risk of repeating myself, there's 140,000 police officers in the country. Assuming there's 70 million people in the country, probably more than that, which means that the police are outnumbered 500 to 1. So whatever they say they can do, and whatever laws that they pass, whatever legislation that they pass, whatever tax laws they pass, whatever surveillance they put us under, they can't make us do anything unless we agree to it. They can't make us do anything. They can only make us do anything if we believe in their power. And their power, as I've said on numerous occasions before, is an illusion. It's a tiny cabal of people. And by cabal, I don't really mean people twirling their moustaches in a smoky room. I mean the political class, the managerial civil servant class. I mean, they number in their hundreds of thousands, obviously, but compared to the great bulk of the population, they're negligible. The only power they have is the power that we agree that they have. And unfortunately, at the moment, too many people agree that they do have power. Because too many people still believe in the idea of law and order, the rule of law, innocent until proven guilty, to be sat in judgment by your peers, that there is a legal system. None of these things are true anymore. the only thing that really remains of the state of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is the name. Nothing else exists. The political class are not our servants. They do not serve us. They serve themselves. And that's it. They serve themselves. There is certainly no moral obligation to follow their laws. There's none at all. The laws have been drawn against us. To make us the criminals. Surveillance makes us the criminals before and overturns the whole idea of innocent until proven guilty. The live facial recognition database turns that 180 degrees on its head. Now we are all criminals who will have to justify and prove our innocence. But only legally, only officially. And I can't stress this enough. And it's a vague enough concept to make it difficult to really pin it down. But we don't have to do anything that they tell us. The reason we do the things they tell us is because they threaten us with their tiny number of police officers. Their tiny number of limp-wristed, woke, anti-British police officers. Anti-British, anti-white police officers. And they pick out people one by one as examples to the rest of us as to what they can do. And so long as we continue to kind of live in fear of the knock at the door, they will continue to do that. You know, when there's a big protest and somebody, and particularly if it's like a pro-Palestine protest, if they ever do arrest anybody like that, which they very rarely do, but if there's a protest and they don't want to get into a scuffle, you know, on the street, in the thick of it, they will just use their facial recognition, find out who that person is. And they won't do anything at the time, and the person can do all sorts of terrible things or no terrible things. And because the police are so cowardly, they won't go after the person at the time. So they'll just film them, track them down through their facial recognition, and then wait until 5 o'clock the next morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, knock at the door when they're in their underpants and take them away. Now, of course, if you are the person that is being targeted in that way, obviously they do have power. But how many people can they do this to? They are already arresting as many people as they can manage already. 12,000 people every year for online speech violations, hate speech. 12,000 a year. You know, that's about, I don't know, what's that? That's could they up that to 10 times 120,000 people? Could they? I don't think they could. And even if they could, where they're going to put them? They don't have the jails for that. The jails are already full up. There's already upwards of 85,000 people in jail at the moment. So they're already running at close to their maximum capacity for arrests. All we need to do is refuse to cooperate in enough numbers. And if we have a demonstration or a march somewhere, maybe the best thing isn't just for everybody to come to London. Maybe what it is you have moderately large demonstrations everywhere else. You have them in Birmingham, you have them in Manchester, you have them in Liverpool, Leicester, Exeter, Cardiff, Glasgow, Newcastle. See, what happens when you have a big demonstration in central London is that they bus in thousands and thousands and thousands of coppers from all over the country. Now, if there was a big demonstration happening in London and one in Manchester and one in Birmingham and one in Nottingham, they wouldn't be able to spare those coppers. But they know if there's a big demonstration in London that there isn't going to be one in Nottingham. There isn't going to be one in Derby. There isn't going to be one in Swansea. And so they can afford to hollow out their numbers in those places, in the provinces, in order to send them to London. So the situation always looks dire. It always looks that way. Because the law and order and the state is a confidence trick. It's the same confidence trick that enabled 100,000 Englishmen to rule over 300 million Indians. It was an illusion of power. And once the Indians realised that there was very, very few British soldiers and administrators and civil servants to oppose them, the game was up. There is no way that a force of 140,000 people can control a population of 70 million. And even at its worst, the worst proportions, even if it was, I don't know, what could we say? Even if there are 50 million normies who will always obey the law, no matter what it is, and they'll never stand up to anything or for anything in their entire lives, there's still another 20 million people. 140,000 police are not going to be able to do anything with that. So like I say, I can't stress this enough. It seems dire. It seems dire because all the media focuses on Parliament and laws and David Lammy saying, well, we're not going to have jury trials anymore because it's too expensive and we don't really need them, and we'll just put our people in because they'll know who needs to go to jail. We don't have to get all the plebs off the street to do it, as we've done for 800 fucking years. It always seems dire. But the state is a paper tiger. The state is weak, but it's desperately trying to project strength. It only has the power and the strength that we agree that it has. In fact, we're not even agreeing to its power. We're just agreeing to the lie. We're just agreeing to believe that 140,000 police officers can police a country of 70 million. Now, that was when we had a functioning society, that was probably enough. Because society tended to police itself. And the police only got involved when it became official. Yeah, I mean, this is why, I don't know the figures, but this is why people accused of certain crimes ended up face down in canals. Yeah, and there were no police involved. Society did what it did, and it did it well enough that only a small civilian police force was required. So I don't know really. I mean, I don't really have a plan. I mean, I've mooted plans before, some sort of brotherhood of people to get together, connected as a sort of rapid reaction force to that 4 a.m. knock at the door. 6 coppers turn up, you make a phone call, 250 people turn up. And let's see them take that person away. I mean, I'm not an organizer. I don't have, I'm not an organizer and I'm not a leader. I can be a foot soldier, but I'm not a leader, and that's just my idea. What you need is a leader of men to do such a thing. Or you need leaders, because they need to be interchangeable. So if one gets taken out, it doesn't matter. You've got another one. So you don't need leaders in the cult of personality type of leader. And there's nothing violent about this. There's no militia involved. But it is just force of numbers refusing to cooperate. And they can pass all the laws they like. And it will have no effect. But all we have to do is break this spell in the majority of people that the state has power. It has none. And it's not really interested in having power in that sense. Real power. All it's interested in is projecting the idea of power. And the only weapon it has is to scare the individual into not standing up. It's the only power it has. We just have to break this spell. And really to win will be so easy once the spell is broken. It is breaking in lots of places with lots of people. And the penny's dropping. People are beginning to wake up. And it's becoming obvious. The difficulty is breaking the spell. We've had 3 generations of a peaceful and supposedly prosperous society. So our first impulse is to trust the state, to trust and to believe that the state is the same as society, which it isn't. And with every day that goes past, it becomes more obvious that it isn't. It becomes obvious that it's something else. I mean, in essence, there isn't really very much wrong with society. I mean, there are some things wrong with society which can be put right relatively easily. But what's mostly wrong with society is that bit of society which is parasitic on the rest of it, i.e. the state, government, the civil service, all the institutions. Now, we only have so many tools at our disposal. We don't need many. It would be nice if we were heavily armed like the Americans, but we're not. And we're not about to be. But we don't need to be. We have numbers. And we also have a state which not only treats us with contempt, but also believes that we don't have a breaking point. And up till now, they've been right. And every day that we don't break, proves them right. But they will become complacent. I believe reality is beginning to seep into some of them. But at the moment, they're still too terrified of upsetting the Muslims. They're still far too terrified of that. And yet they really ought to be more terrified of us. But we need to think of ways, practical ways, in which we can neutralise their power. The first thing is just to realise that there is no power behind what they do and behind their police cars and their stab vests and all the rest of it. That's the first thing, is to realise it. And then the thing after that is to try and build some structures which will help in that. And you must have your own ideas. I've given you a couple of my ideas. You need to think some others. But you don't need much. The main thing is to realise how powerless they really are. And that will enable us, finally, to stay free.